That bag of frozen shrimp in your grocery cart might be hiding more than healthy protein. It could have traveled through supply chains with documented antibiotic contamination, and the store selling it to you may have received a failing grade for transparency about where their seafood actually comes from. Canada imports the vast majority of its shrimp from countries where antibiotic use has been documented at alarming rates. In 2024, the United States Food and Drug Administration refused 81 shipments of shrimp for banned antibiotic contamination, the highest level in 8 years. The vast majority came from India and Vietnam, both major suppliers to the Canadian market, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency simply does not have the resources to test everything that crosses the border. Today, we expose 5 Canadian grocery stores that deserve serious scrutiny when it comes to their shrimp. By the end, you will know exactly which stores have the most concerning track records and what to watch for. We begin with Real Canadian Superstore, and the corporate ownership here reveals the first major problem. Real Canadian Superstore operates under Loblaw Companies Limited, Canada's largest grocery retailer. Loblaw controls over 2,400 stores across the country under numerous banners, including Loblaw's, No Frills, Zehrs, Valumart, Your Independent Grocer, Fortinos, and many more. They also own Shoppers Drug Mart and T&T Supermarket, Canada's largest Asian grocery chain. With this massive market presence comes enormous responsibility. The 2025 Sea Choice report gave Loblaw an F grade for seafood transparency and sustainability. While the report acknowledged that Loblaw received the highest score for covering indirect products like health, beauty, and pet food in their sustainability policy, a major problem stood out. Their commitments exclude T&T Supermarket, which is the largest Asian supermarket chain in Canada and sells significant amounts of seafood products, including substantial volumes of shrimp. This exclusion is particularly concerning because T&T specializes in seafood with extensive live tanks and fresh fish counters that serve communities across the country. When a company excludes a major seafood selling subsidiary from its sustainability commitments, what does that tell you about the actual priority placed on responsible sourcing? The shrimp you find at Real Canadian Superstore comes through global supply chains that source from the same countries flagged repeatedly for antibiotic contamination. India remained the top shrimp exporter to North American markets throughout 2024, and the United States and Canada combined absorbed 46% of India's raw shrimp exports in the first quarter of that year alone. The company's President's Choice brand and no-name brand shrimp products source from suppliers around the world. While Loblaw has ethical sourcing policies on paper, the Sea Choice report found that Canadian retailers, including Loblaw, have remained largely silent in response to major investigations into human rights abuses in seafood supply chains. When investigations revealed concerning practices in shrimp fishing and farming operations, retailers failed to provide substantive responses about their action plans. Loblaw's dominance in the Canadian grocery market means their practices set industry standards. When the largest player does not prioritize seafood transparency, it creates less pressure for competitors to do better. The company's pricing power with suppliers could theoretically be used to demand better practices, but industry assessment suggests this leverage is not being fully utilized for sustainability or transparency improvements. What makes this particularly frustrating is that Loblaw has the resources to do better. This is a company with tens of billions in annual revenue and sophisticated supply chain management capabilities. They could implement comprehensive traceability systems that follow shrimp from farm to plate. They could require detailed documentation from all suppliers. They could test products regularly for species verification and contamination. The technology and systems exist. The question is why they have not been fully implemented. Next, we examine Walmart Canada, and the global supply chain model here creates its own set of concerns. Walmart Canada operates over 400 stores across the country, including more than 280 supercenters that feature full grocery departments. As part of the world's largest retailer, Walmart has enormous purchasing power and the resources to implement robust seafood sourcing programs. But despite public commitments to sustainability, the company still received a failing grade in the most recent industry assessment. The 2025 Sea Choice Seafood Progress Report gave Walmart Canada an F grade for seafood transparency and sustainability, placing them alongside Loblaw in the failing category. While Walmart has made public sustainability commitments, including goals to source seafood from certified sustainable sources, the Sea Choice assessment found significant gaps in how those commitments translate to actual transparency and accountability. To be fair, Walmart has some positive attributes that other retailers lack. They are one of only 3 Canadian retailers whose social responsibility commitments reference international standards and include clear expectations for suppliers to address human rights abuses in their supply chains. They have also participated in the Ocean Disclosure Program, publishing information about species names, harvest locations, and certification status for their wild-caught, fresh, and frozen products. But here is where the problems emerge specifically for shrimp. Walmart sources significant portions of its shrimp through global supply chains, including products from countries that have documented issues with antibiotic residue in farmed shrimp. The company operates on a high-volume, low-margin model where efficiency is paramount. Employees working the seafood section are often handling multiple departments simultaneously. The level of specialized seafood knowledge you would find at a dedicated fish market simply is not present. When customers ask detailed questions about where shrimp was farmed, what antibiotics might have been used, or how long the product has been in the supply chain, the answers are often limited to whatever appears on the packaging. The frozen shrimp aisle at Walmart presents particular concerns. Products like frozen shrimp from Southeast Asia are sourced from aquaculture operations where antibiotic use has been documented. The 2024 assessment by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency of Vietnam's Food Control System for Fish and Seafood found that monitoring programs identified 56 samples of aquacultured species exceeding maximum residue limits for antibiotics and veterinary drugs. While the Vietnamese government has systems in place to address violations, the fact that these issues are ongoing raises questions about what ends up in Canadian stores. The shrimp industry operates on razor-thin margins at the retail level. Every dollar spent on proper sourcing verification and supply chain transparency is a dollar that does not go to maintaining low prices. This creates inherent pressure to accept supplier assurances rather than verify them independently. For a company built on everyday low prices, that pressure is particularly acute. The situation at Costco Canada presents an interesting paradox, and this one might surprise you. Costco operates over 100 warehouse locations across Canada, serving millions of members who trust the company to deliver quality products at competitive prices. The Kirkland Signature brand has built a reputation for quality that often exceeds national brands. Costco members tend to be loyal and trusting of the products the company chooses to stock. When it comes to seafood transparency, however, Costco Canada received an F grade in the 2025 Sea Choice assessment, just like Loblaw and Walmart. This might seem surprising for a company that many consumers perceive as more quality-focused than typical discount retailers. Here is where the nuance matters. Costco actually achieved the highest score among major Canadian retailers at 74% on the Policy Scope indicator, and they are one of only 2 retailers whose sustainability policy covers some indirect products like the Kirkland Signature pet food and health products that contain seafood ingredients. That sounds positive until you understand what is excluded. Costco excludes the huge volume of third-party brands it sells from its sustainability commitments and has no plans to cover these products under its policy. When you buy shrimp at Costco that is not Kirkland Signature, you are buying products that fall outside the company's sustainability framework entirely. The same shelves that hold carefully sourced Kirkland products also hold third-party brands with no comparable oversight. The bulk buying model that defines Costco creates additional considerations for shrimp specifically. When you buy a large bag of frozen shrimp at Costco, you are committing to consuming that product over an extended period. If there are any quality issues with that particular batch, you have a significant quantity affected. The economics of bulk purchasing work against being selective or cautious about individual items. Costco also did not respond to Sea Choice questions about who is held responsible and accountable to ensure their human rights policies are met. This lack of transparency about accountability structures raises questions about how seriously the company takes oversight of its seafood supply chains beyond the Kirkland brand. The shrimp sourced by major retailers including Costco comes predominantly from farmed operations in countries like India, Vietnam, Ecuador, Indonesia, and Thailand. These 5 countries account for approximately 74% of global shrimp production. The concentration of supply in these regions means that systemic issues with antibiotic use or labor practices affect the entire North American market, not just individual retailers. Now, if you have made it this far and you are finding this information useful, take a second to hit that subscribe button. We put out new investigations every week, and the more subscribers we have, the harder it becomes for these companies to ignore what we are reporting. All right, let us keep going with Metro. The Metro situation deserves careful examination because this retailer actually performed better than its competitors in independent assessments. But better than failing is not the same as good. Metro operates as Canada's 3rd largest grocery retailer, with over 1,000 stores across Quebec and Ontario, under banners including Metro, Metro Plus, Super C, Food Basics, Adonis, and Premier Moisson. The company has been in business for over 75 years and markets itself as a trusted source for quality products with a focus on community connection. In the 2025 C-Choice assessment, Metro was the only major Canadian grocer to pass. They received a C grade with their fisheries and aquaculture policy found to cover most direct products across all their retailers. They were also the only retailer to report seafood sales data publicly. This transparency is genuinely commendable and sets Metro apart from competitors who refuse to share similar information. So why is Metro on this list at all? Because a C grade means meeting minimum standards, not exceeding them. Think of it this way. If you were grading a student, a C means they are doing just enough to pass, not that they are excelling. When it comes to something as important as the safety and integrity of seafood your family consumes, just passing should not be the benchmark. And like all major retailers assessed, Metro does not extend their sustainable sourcing policies to indirect products where seafood is an ingredient such as supplements, pet food, or prepared meals. The shrimp available at Metro stores comes through the same global supply chains that supply other Canadian retailers. The documented issues with antibiotic contamination in shrimp from India and Vietnam do not disappear because Metro has slightly better policies on paper. The European Union has maintained additional measures requiring that 100% of shrimp shipments from India be tested prior to exportation, and that 50% of shipments be tested at importation. Canada has no comparable requirements. The staffing model at Metro stores varies significantly by location. The higher-end Metro and Metro Plus locations may have more knowledgeable seafood department staff, while discount banners like Super C operate with leaner teams handling multiple sections. This inconsistency means your experience and the quality of information you receive about the shrimp you are buying can vary dramatically depending on which store you visit. Metro has publicly committed to sustainable seafood sourcing and has expanded their traceability program to include sushi. These positive steps deserve recognition, but they do not address the broader reality that most shrimp sold in Canadian grocery stores comes from countries with documented antibiotic issues and limited Canadian oversight. We are going to finish with Food Basics, and here is where corporate structure creates a nuanced situation that deserves examination. Food Basics operates over 140 stores throughout Ontario as a discount supermarket chain. The brand was created to compete with warehouse-style supermarkets like No Frills, offering low prices on everyday groceries to value-seeking customers. Food Basics is owned by Metro Inc., the same parent company we just discussed. Here's the important context. Metro received a C grade in the 2025 C-Choice assessment, the only major retailer to pass. That assessment evaluated Metro as a corporate entity, not each individual banner separately. So technically, Food Basics falls under the same umbrella as the Metro stores that earned that passing grade. This is not a store with a separate failing assessment like Loblaw, Walmart, or Costco received. But here is why Food Basics still warrants scrutiny for shrimp specifically. The discount grocery model operates on even thinner margins than traditional supermarkets. When margins are thin, every purchasing decision is driven by cost. The cheapest shrimp available on the commodity market becomes the default choice. The most affordable suppliers get the contracts. The products that can be delivered at the lowest price point fill the freezer cases. Metro's corporate policies may be sound, but implementation at discount banners faces different economic pressures than at full-service Metro Plus locations. Food Basics stores operate with lean staffing models. Employees handle multiple departments and sections. There are fewer dedicated seafood specialists available to answer questions about where products come from or how they were processed. The shopping experience prioritizes efficiency and low prices over education and transparency. The frozen shrimp selection at Food Basics draws from the same global supply chains as other retailers, but the discount positioning means sourcing gravitates toward the least expensive options. Those options frequently come from countries with documented antibiotic issues. The price advantage that attracts customers to Food Basics may come with trade-offs in sourcing scrutiny that shoppers never see. The Canadian seafood import system relies heavily on producer country oversight, combined with limited Canadian testing. When the Canadian Food Inspection Agency can only test a small percentage of imports, contaminated products can reach store shelves regardless of which retailer stocks them. But discount retailers operating on the thinnest margins have the least financial cushion to implement additional verification measures beyond regulatory minimums. Food Basics is not alone in these challenges. Every discount grocery chain faces similar pressures, but understanding those pressures helps consumers make informed decisions about where to buy products as sensitive as shrimp. That is the full list. 5 grocery stores where the shrimp section deserves far more scrutiny than most shoppers realize. But what can you actually do to protect yourself and your family? Shrimp is a healthy protein source that many Canadians enjoy regularly. Walking away from it entirely is not a realistic solution for most households. Here is what informed consumers should consider. First, read labels carefully. Look for country of origin information, which is required on seafood packaging in Canada. If the shrimp comes from countries that have been repeatedly flagged for antibiotic contamination like India or Vietnam, understand that elevated risk exists even if that specific product was not contaminated. This does not mean all shrimp from these countries is problematic, but the documented patterns warrant awareness. Second, look for certification labels and understand what they mean. The Aquaculture Stewardship Council label addresses farmed shrimp sustainability standards. The Best Aquaculture Practices certification indicates compliance with certain production standards, but understand that even certified products have been refused at borders for antibiotic contamination. In 2024, many of the shrimp shipments refused by the United States Food and Drug Administration for banned antibiotics came from Best Aquaculture Practices certified producers and processors. Certification reduces risk, but does not eliminate it. Third, consider wild-caught options when available. Wild-caught shrimp from Canadian waters or well-regulated fisheries eliminate the antibiotic concerns associated with aquaculture operations in countries with documentation issues. Wild-caught products typically cost more, but you are paying for reduced supply chain risk. Fourth, ask questions. When buying from a seafood counter rather than the frozen section, ask staff where the shrimp came from, when it arrived, and whether it was previously frozen. If staff cannot answer these basic questions, that tells you something about the priority the store places on seafood transparency. Fifth, consider smaller retailers and fishmongers. Local fish markets with dedicated seafood expertise often have better knowledge of their supply chains and more direct relationships with suppliers. They may source from smaller, more traceable operations. The trade-off is typically higher prices, but you are paying for transparency and knowledge that mass market retailers rarely provide. Sixth, pay attention to price signals. Dramatically discounted shrimp is discounted for a reason. It may be approaching the end of its safe storage life. It may have been frozen and thawed multiple times. The economics of seafood mean that quality comes at a cost, and extreme discounts often indicate compromise somewhere in the supply chain. Finally, support better regulation. Canada lags behind the European Union in seafood traceability requirements. The European Union implemented stringent traceability and comprehensive labeling requirements, and seafood fraud rates dropped significantly as a result. Organizations are pushing for similar requirements in Canada. Let your elected representatives know this matters to you. The stores we have examined today, Real Canadian Superstore, Walmart Canada, Costco Canada, Metro, and Food Basics, together control a massive share of grocery sales in Canada. Their practices directly affect what ends up on millions of Canadian dinner tables every night. They are prioritizing convenience and low prices over transparency, volume over verification, and hoping consumers do not ask too many questions. The next time you walk into one of these stores and see that bag of frozen shrimp in the freezer case, ask yourself whether you really know where it came from. Ask yourself whether you trust this store to have verified its supply chain from farm to shelf. Ask yourself whether the price savings are worth the uncertainty. Your family's health is worth more than a convenient dinner option. Some shrimp should never reach your plate, and the only way to protect yourself is to be skeptical, informed, and willing to demand better from the retailers who want your money. The evidence is documented. The industry assessments are public, and the risks are real. Your best defense is awareness, skepticism, and the willingness to vote with your wallet for retailers and products that prioritize doing better. Trust is earned through transparency, traceability, and consistent quality. These 5 stores have significant room for improvement. Now you know exactly where the problems are and how to protect yourself. If this opened your eyes, subscribe so you never miss another investigation. They are counting on you not to ask questions. Prove them wrong, your plate, your rules,